It is week number 9, and the NFL trade deadline just passed. Might I say that the NFL trade deadline was not the top story of conversation yesterday, but a litany of other things took the NFL by storm. Players, teams, mugshots, so many different things happened. And we are going to cover it all for you. And on top of that, there was a week 8 that just happened. If anybody forgot already, it was the week of the backup, apparently. So we're going to get to that too. We're going to get to our mid-season awards and see how wrong we were coming in to this season. And then we will continue our fantasy football sleepers and busts, which we had our worst week yet this past Sunday, going 1 for 6. We have yet to do that so far this season. And our game picks, in which I have extended my lead on the professor so far. We have a ton coming at you. It is week 9. We are in the month of November. No shave November. No nut November. Whatever you want to do, we're all about it. As long as there's no NFL November. That we can't accept. That we cannot accept. We will not accept it. So make sure that you are ready to rock. Make sure that you are ready to roll. And make sure that you are ready to sit down and have a great time with us, because we are ready to bring the pee and pain. Spencer, roll the tape.
You play to win the game.
Touchdown! Can't wait.
Johnny.
I'm overwhelmed, Joe.
You're overwhelmed?
I'm overwhelmed.
It's a lot.
Not by the intro, but by everything that's happened this week.
There's been a lot that's happened in the past 24 hours.
Joe has a beautiful strawberry acai refresher.
Oh my God, it's so good.
You love that thing.
The day that I've had, I kind of needed this, so thank you so much. Welcome, everyone, to episode number 37 of Perfect Spiral. John, we're 15 episodes away from being a year's worth of episodes.
That's crazy.
That's incredible. It's incredible.
We got to do like a party.
I have something planned. I'm thinking something is in my head. It's coming back to me. We'll separate, but right now in episode 37, I am Joe Miglio. I am one of your hosts, and I have my co-host John McCarthy standing right across from me. John, say hi to the people at home.
Hello, everybody.
There you go. There's my hello from John.
I'm here.
And we are Perfect Spiral. We are here to bring you NFL coverage 24/7, 365. And we are in month number 8 of bringing that to you. Now, before we get started here today, we have a lot to go over. But before we get started today, I would be remiss if I did not tell you to please go on anywhere you listen to our lovely podcast, whether it's Facebook or whether it's Spotify, whether it's Apple or Google or Buzzsprout or Pandora. And make sure you click on the button that says subscribe, or click on the button that says rate, or click on the button that says review, or leave a comment. Download the episode. We don't care. Do something, because everything that you do counts for us. And the more interaction we get from you, the more we can give all of you as a product. That being said, John, I don't want to waste any time today, because we got a lot to go over.
There's a
ton. Quite possibly more content than we've had in any one week.
We had to speak about this literally all day off and on, how we were going to do this, because there's a lot.
So
we can't miss any of it. We have to go over all of it.
So we were going to talk about the NFL trade deadline as our headliner for today. But there have been things that have overtaken that. And we have to start with the negative. That is Henry Ruggs. So if you have been away from your phone, if you have been on vacation, if you have been living under a rock, you will not know that Henry Ruggs, who has now been released by the Las Vegas Raiders as of yesterday morning, was involved in a fatal car crash on Tuesday night?
It was yesterday
Monday
morning,
night?
3 a.m. yesterday.
Okay, so Monday night going to Tuesday morning, where he was going a whopping 156 miles per hour with his girlfriend in the passenger seat, crashing into a woman, and the woman had her dog with her in the car, killing the both of them, which is extremely sad. And then on top of that, had a loaded gun in the car, and also had a blood alcohol level of 0.161, which for all of you savants in BAC levels know that is over double the legal limit. So a bevy of poor decisions by Henry Ruggs led to the loss of 2 lives, which is awful and terrible. He is being charged with a felony and a DUI, and he has been released by the Las Vegas Raiders, so he is no longer employed by the NFL. Obviously, we want to always talk about happy things on this podcast and things related to football. And unfortunately, this is related to football, and it is related to a member of a team, a player who was on a team just this past week, and played in an NFL game. So, or not? Well, they were off, but regardless, John, what do you make of this whole situation? Because I have a lot to say, but I kind of want to hear what you have to say first.
So first of all, condolences to the woman and her family and the dog. I mean, you hate to see that, man. She didn't. You know, when you really think about this stuff, and what really gets me is like whatever she was doing, like she's on her way somewhere, like you don't think that that's going to happen. And due to someone's negligence, you lost your life. And that's incredibly sad. And my condolences go out to them. In regards to Henry Ruggs, man, there's no excuse for this. And let this be a message to anybody that's listening to this podcast, whether you're a football player, not a football player, teenager, adult, whatever you are, never drive drunk, please. Get a driver with you. Have someone, like with the NFL, they have drivers for a reason, you know. And if you don't have the luxury of being an NFL player, please find a designated driver. Have a family member, a friend, a girlfriend, a wife, a husband pick you up, please, because it's never worth it. And it's unfortunate to have something like this happen. And in regards to Henry Ruggs with the situation, man, he's facing anywhere from 2 to 20 years in prison. And for a 22-year-old player drafted in the first round who had a lot of promise with him, his career is over. There's no coming back from this.
I would tend to agree. The reality of the situation is that we don't know if his career is over in the NFL because we've seen things like this happen before, and people have come back from it. First guy that comes to my mind is Michael Vick. Went to prison, got out of prison, came back to the NFL. So I don't want to say his career's over. It should be over. It absolutely should be over. Mm-hmm. There are things in life you get a second chance for. And he will eventually get a second chance at life. That's his second chance. That's it. That's your second chance. You should not get a second chance in the NFL. He shouldn't receive one.
No.
Will he? I don't know. But he should not receive a second chance in the NFL. That is a privilege, and you ruined that privilege because of your own stupidity.
Negligence.
What I told you before, okay, and I'm going to say it here, and this may not be something that resonates with people, and I'm sorry about that, but this needs to be said. A lot of these guys who come into the NFL as kids, they don't come from a lot of money. They don't. It's a reality of the situation. They just don't. And they are handed on a silver platter millions of dollars overnight. Signing bonuses and all this other stuff. Guaranteed money. They're handed this money overnight. You just mentioned Henry Ruggs was a first-round draft pick. He was drafted 13th overall last season. He was the first wide receiver taken off the board last year in the NFL draft. Part of that Alabama trio with him, CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy. Devontae Smith was on that team. So they had a litany of talent. This kid, because that's what he is. He's a kid. He's 22 years old. He's a child. Okay, got handed all this money, and he did what he thought. He did what every kid does. He went out. He acted stupid. And because of all this money, he had this really expensive car, which is a death trap if driven the wrong way, which it was in this instance.
I agree.
It's an absolute death trap. But I want to talk about a couple things for a minute with this guy. You said the NFL has all these things and all these avenues for you to do. You're telling me, and I'm not, again, this is going to come off the wrong way, but I'm going to say it. None of his teammates knew where he was that night. None of his teammates. I'm not making an accusation. I'm asking. None of his teammates knew where he was. He was just getting drunk with his girlfriend and decided to go out at 3 o'clock in the morning. Not saying it's true or so it's false. But you get in the car, you're going 156 miles an hour. Why does he have a loaded gun, John?
That doesn't make any sense.
Why does he have a loaded gun in the car? Why? First of all, why do you need a gun? You're an NFL player. You're not a drug dealer, for all we know. You're not a gangster. You're an NFL wide receiver. Why do you have a loaded gun? For what? For show? Trying to be cool in front of the kids? I don't understand. Why do you have a gun? And then on top of it, he kills a woman. Kills that woman's pet, a dog. Seriously injures his girlfriend, which, if I read correctly, he has a daughter with. Is that right?
I'm not entirely sure. I didn't see that part, which possible. I know he has a daughter.
So, I mean, this guy doesn't deserve a second chance in the NFL. He doesn't deserve one. He threw that away. He threw it away. In one night, Johnny threw it away. And this is such a bigger thing. There's we talk about how every team has veterans and Darren Waller, right? And I'm not blaming Darren Waller at all in this situation, obviously. Darren Waller is a guy who went through so much crap as an adult, overcame addiction, this whole story. It's a great story, right? And he's turned himself. Max Crosby's another one, right? Same team.
Yeah.
This kid could have, all he had to do was make a phone call. That's all he had to do was make one phone call. Call your head coach. Call your teammates. Call the owner. Call someone. Call someone and say, hey, I think I'm really about to make a bad decision. Can you help me? I guarantee you any one of those other 52 guys on that team would have said, where do you need me to be? I'll be there in a minute. Any one of them.
But it's arrogance, Joe. That's what it is. It's arrogance. These guys think that they're untouchable. You think that he got behind that wheel and didn't think that he was untouchable?
Absolutely he did, because he's 22. He's 22. Every 22-year-old thinks they're untouchable. I did.
I sure shit did too. But I wasn't making stupid decisions like that. That's decisions you make when it's like, I have money, I'm high profile,
and now he's going to go to prison. He's going to go to jail. I don't even think he's fully processed that yet.
Yeah.
He's going to go to jail. A first-round wide receiver who had everything going for him. He's going to go to prison. It's
a horrible story. It's terrible.
It gets me so angry because it's something that was so avoidable.
Yep.
It's something that's so avoidable. And I really, really hope every rookie, second-year player, third-year player looks at this and says, wow, that could have been me. That could have been me. And just make better decisions. It is a privilege to be in the NFL. You know how many guys try to get there and fail? And not because they don't have the money or they don't have because they're just not good enough. Their talent's not there. And they try their whole lives to get there and they don't. And this kid made it. He went to the best college football program in the country. Played, got a national title, went to one of the most prestigious NFL franchises in the country. And he screwed it all up.
And you know what, though? You mentioned something funny just now. Could we think he went to Alabama? There is a level of accountability when you play for Saban.
Absolutely.
And that program.
Right.
Program. When sorry, I had to break up the sentence a little bit. But you're telling me that there wasn't some sort of values instilled in this kid?
You would think.
But then you just go to the NFL and it's just like,
Sometimes it just evaporates, John.
It's sad, dude.
Sometimes guys just do it to get through because they see the light at the end of the tunnel. They see the light. They see the dollar signs, and that's all they care about.
My heart just breaks for that
Absolutely.
woman and her family.
There's no reason that
It's
woman had to
devastating.
die. Zero reason that woman had to die. None. But here we are.
Sad.
So that is the Henry Ruggs story. Tale for everyone, caution. Think about what you're doing before you do something. That's number one. Now, let's go from that to another guy who just seems like he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, and he clearly isn't. And that's Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, boy.
My man, Aaron Rodgers, the guy's a legend, honestly, spent the whole offseason basically saying, F the Packers. I'm out. Went to Hawaii with Miles Teller, has a new girlfriend in Shailene Woodley, fiance, whatever they are, hosted Jeopardy for a couple of weeks. Then he's like, all right, I'll come back and play football. They're like 7-1. They just got overbeaten the Cardinals on Thursday Night Football, right? Quite possibly the best team in the league. And he gets busted for COVID, right? And that's fine.
You say gets busted for COVID.
And that's okay because, like, that happens, right?
Yeah.
But that's not even the story. The story is my dude lied. Back in August, he said that he was immunized, whatever.
I can't even say it.
So he never said technically that he was vaccinated, but he said he was immunized. And on top of it, he goes on in the interview. Let's go back and listen to the interview. He says, I am, but I know some of my teammates aren't. So he kind of doubles down on it.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm not going to judge anyone for what their personal decisions are. Which, granted, that you shouldn't judge people for their personal decisions.
Of course, yeah.
Right? But you went on with this ruse for months. And it's just it's the NFL protocol, right? They're not saying you can't play if you're not vaccinated. That's not a mandate, right? All they're saying is when you're doing interviews, doing Zooms, you have to put on a mask. That's
and
it.
he never did.
He never did. So we just got this whole
duped
hoopla
everybody.
that he was vaccinated. Honestly, maybe it's a stroke of pure genius because if he got through the whole NFL season without getting COVID, I mean, kudos to you. But he got busted, and now he's going to be out this week. He may be out next week too. Mm-hmm. And they have a big game against Kansas City. It was a huge game for KC, and now it becomes a very winnable game for them, especially at home.
Yeah.
But, I mean, do you think anything's going to happen to Rodgers because do you think anything's actually going to happen?
No.
Do you think he's going to get fined or you can't suspend the guy?
So what do you think? He gave him a fake vaccine
I don't
card?
know what he did.
I think we got to see what happens because I'm dying. It's hilarious.
I'm going to ask you a crazy question.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Do you think the NFL knew?
That he wasn't vaccinated?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
You do?
Of course, they have to know. I feel like...
So if that's the case, that opens a whole can of worms.
So they said that their vaccination status across the league is like something like 92% across the league. You have to have some sort of metric for a team. So let's say the Packers are reporting 100% vaccination rate. Let's just say they do, right? And he's not vaccinated. Well, that's a problem. That's a flaw in the whole thing.
Absolutely.
I don't think anything really comes of it, though. I think that it's going to completely blow over because I feel like it was a pretty opportune time for him to have this mishap because of everything else going on. So I think people already forgot that he just like lied. But it is what it is. I think Aaron Rodgers, at the end of the day, he's a very private person. I don't think he really likes answering questions. I don't think he likes telling people about his private life. I don't think he likes divulging in any of that. And you know what's funny, too, is what got lost in this is that yesterday he came out. This has nothing to do with the COVID thing. Came out and said that he loves the conversation he's been having with Brian Gutekunst and loves how he's been communicating with the organization. And then he gets COVID, and now he's out. He also said that, the long hair thing, it was for his John Wick costume.
I love that.
That's hilarious.
Friggin' great.
He's incredible. I don't even care. I don't even care about the that he got COVID thing. I mean, it sucks for fantasy owners. But at the end of the day, man, listen, you do have him. We're gonna see Jordan Love's first start. So
yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later. So that's that, right? And before we go on, I want to say, I was listening to radio program today, before my car was taken from me, and they said that Florio,
okay,
Pro Football Talk, who was like universally hated, which I think is hilarious, knew that he was unvaccinated, got a report that he was unvaccinated on October 5th, and never released it, held on to it.
Because I don't think he's allowed to.
Whatever reason, I don't know. But I find that fascinating. How, I'm curious, man. There's a double standard held. And not, I'm not bringing it into a whole race thing or anything like that. But do you remember how upset everybody got when Cam Newton wasn't vaccinated? Beginning of the year?
Lamar Jackson wasn't vaccinated. Still isn't.
And, we're just going to let Rodgers go scot-free. Seems a little weird to me. But Aaron Rodgers, much like Lamar Jackson, puts eyeballs on the TV and puts some asses in the seats when it comes
profile.
to Sundays.
That's what it is.
So those guys are held to a higher standard. Okay. Let's go from one diva to another. Odell Beckham.
Oh, boy.
And this is the part of the podcast where John, I'm going to let John just take over here because John has a very, as he puts his coffee on the side, he has very hot feelings about this whole situation. So John, please tell us what's happening with Odell Beckham.
So I'm going to let everybody know right now. Joe, the door's cracked open a little bit. Could you hit that?
Sure, absolutely. No problem.
Because I'm about to get a little pissed off. So if you haven't seen, we're going to get to the trade deadline, but we'll discuss this now because it pertains to Odell Beckham. So if you've been watching Browns games, you've been watching football, Odell Beckham, he's been a little banged up, but he did come back from the ACL injury and the rehab. Since he's been back, he has 17 catches for, I believe, 232 yards.
It's terrible.
He was targeted one time and had one catch for 9 yards last week. It is clear that Odell Beckham is an afterthought in the Cleveland Browns offense. It is clear that him and Baker Mayfield do not have a rapport together. Considering Odell got hurt, decided to rehab on his own, COVID, and got hurt again. And this has been his tenure in Cleveland. Now, my gripe is not with Odell Beckham. My gripe is not with Baker Mayfield, who I will get to later. But my gripe is with the Cleveland Browns organization, and I'll tell you why. Joe, I'm going to say this, and you've heard me say this before. Bad teams are bad. Bad organizations stay bad. It's just in your roots and in your blood as a team and an organization as ownership.
Please don't say that.
To be bad. No, I mean, put aside the Jaguars. We're talking about Cleveland.
Can they change?
It seems they can't. So when you look at the trade deadline yesterday, teams were calling Cleveland about Odell Beckham. And the report that came out, Diana Rossini put out a report at 10:54 in the morning. Trade deadline is not until 4 o'clock. The Browns have no interest in dealing Odell Beckham because there isn't a trade that makes sense for the organization. So what happens? The king of Twitter, LeBron James, puts out a tweet that says he will prove once again that he's a wide receiver one, free OBJ. Okay. As if that wasn't enough, Odell Beckham's father puts out a video, an 11-minute video of all the times Baker Mayfield has missed Odell Beckham. And it's damning. No trade made sense for the organization.
I'm sorry, really quick. When you say, I didn't watch that video. When you say missing, like throws that he missed?
Throws that he missed. He's wide open.
Okay.
Just totally missing.
Continue.
So trading him didn't make sense for the organization. He's due $9 million this year. No guaranteed money towards after this year. You just cut him and let him go. So what makes sense for the Cleveland Browns organization? Dysfunction. So what do they do today? They send Odell Beckham home. They sent him home and say he is essentially not part of the team. I am just fucking mind blown that this was the route they wanted to go and didn't want to get an asset for him. So now Odell Beckham is not with the team. Baker Mayfield is pissed. They want to have a conversation. Oh, I'll put my ego aside. Oh, I'll rectify this. Why? I don't understand. You should have just traded him to the Saints, who were one of the only teams that actually called and made an offer. You're going to tell me, and Joe, I told you this yesterday when you called me in the afternoon. I said this off the pod. I'm going to say it on the pod. Anything is better than nothing. Never let a player walk. What? You're going to have to pay his $9 million salary? Denver did the same fucking thing with Von Miller. Pay the salary, trade him, and get a fucking pick. What is the problem? But they won't swallow their pride because he's Odell Beckham. The numbers do not signify that he's worth anything more than a 5th or a 6th round pick. Trade him.
And they did that. They did that.
Yes.
No one else did that but them.
They created this problem. He's an afterthought in the offense. He was your big ticket to a team that is the most disappointing team this year. Bar none. So this was the route they wanted to go? So now Odell Beckham is not part of the team currently, and they are discussing routes with his agent for what's next. Well, you know what's next? Paying him $9 million and cutting him. Oh, that was the route you wanted to go. This is just organizational failure from the top down, and this is just what Cleveland is. I'm sorry. It was masqueraded under a really good record last year. Everyone loved them. We loved them. Super Bowl contenders, this, that, and the other thing. There's a litany of problems with this team, and that is one of them, that Odell Beckham is just non-existent. I don't even think he's washed. I think he's actually still pretty decent. I just think it's not for this team.
Can I first, before I counter... That was great. I want more of that all the time.
Well, then more dysfunctional shit.
That was fantastic.
It just doesn't make sense.
I totally agree with what you're saying. I want us to remember that Kevin Stefanski is the head coach of the football team. Okay. And they are a run-first football team. With a two-headed monster with Chubb and Hunt, right? That's their bread and butter. We've said on countless occasions that Baker Mayfield is an excellent play-action passer, right? We've said that.
Yes.
He's not a great 5-7 step drop guy who hits guys on a sluggo route or a post or, an 8-yard out or, whatever the case may be. He's not great like that. He's good in the play action because he feeds off the run game, and he feeds off guys coming into the box and then hitting guys over the middle, right? That's what he feeds off of, which is fine. Some guys make a career out of that, right? That's great. But I'm with you on the sense that if you have, and it's not just Beckham though. It's what we're talking about Beckham because of what's happening with him, but it's the pass game as a whole. Jarvis Landry's on the other side of Beckham. Can I just say, if those two are the wide receivers for any other organization in football?
Breaking.
We'll talk about that in a second. They're much better than what they are right now. I understand that organizations, do with what they're good at, right? And the Browns are good at running the football. They have an excellent offensive line. They have an excellent run game. You should run the football as much as you possibly can. You have one of the best running backs in the NFL. However, you have two dynamic wide receivers on your roster. You need to find a way to get them the football. Need to. Put the ball in their hands.
Do you want to get to this now? Because
I want to wait because there's other stuff we have to cover.
I'm gonna blow up about the Browns.
We'll do that later. We'll say that's a precursor. But because I think there's also an issue with this, and we'll get into it later. So please hold. But that's the Odell Beckham situation. We will continue it in segment 2. I promise.
Yes. We have a lot to say.
But we will get there. Okay? Next player we want to discuss is Von Miller. The Von Miller trade. And actually, before we do that, we just get breaking news here on the pod. AJ Green has tested positive for COVID-19. So it looks like he will also be out Sunday for the Arizona Cardinals. Just keep that in mind as well. So COVID making its way around the league. Von Miller. This was the big trade. This didn't happen on deadline day, but it happened like a couple days before deadline day. Von Miller got traded to the Rams, which is a huge trade.
Huge.
Humongous.
Unexpected.
And LA gave Denver 2 day 2 picks and 3 day 3 picks. Is that right?
No, it was a second and a third round pick.
Second and third round pick, which is good value, I think, for Von Miller.
Of course.
He's not a first round pick. He's not worth the first round pick anymore. No. So good value.
Aging player.
Right? But just another guy, another strong veteran for this Ram defense who has underperformed this year. Let's put the cards on the table. That Ram defense has not been great this season. It's not been good. It's been average. And with the players on that defense, they should be elite. Mm-hmm. And they haven't been. Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Leonard Floyd. You know?
Isn't Michael Brocker still on this
Michael
team?
Brocker's not on that team. He's on the Lions. He was dealt part of the Jared Goff deal.
Oh, damn.
But they got all pros at every level of that defense. Every single level they have an all pro. We knew the Rams were Super Bowl contenders. We knew that. That wasn't a surprise. Their 7-1 record isn't a surprise to me and John at all. I mean, I had them going 14-3. I think you had them going 13-4 or something like that.
Yeah.
We had them being this good. So that's not a surprise. I'm surprised that they still... And the way they did this was crazy. They had no cap money. But yet the Broncos, because they got the 2 picks, the Broncos are paying $9 million of Von's $9.7 million salary. So the Rams are only paying $700,000 of Von's salary for this season, which is incredible. I wonder. Well, I want to ask you 2 questions. One, what do you think the move does for the Rams defensively? And what do you think it does for Denver? And then 2, the Rams have made this a thing now. This is at this point, it's a trend. Okay? The Rams are clearly don't value their draft picks, and they trade them for guys who are already established. Mm-hmm. Do you think that other teams over the course of the next season are going to start to establish this mentality?
So which question you want me to answer first?
The first one.
Okay. So what does it do for the Rams and the Broncos? So first of all, Von Miller's an all-time great in Denver. Mm-hmm. I mean, this guy has been one of the best defensive players that we've seen come into the league in our time watching football, for sure. Super Bowl MVP. He's just, he was a game wrecker at one point. He's not the player he once was.
Right.
Coming off the Achilles injury, he's lost a little bit of explosiveness, but he's still Von Miller.
Right, he's
still
good.
In the
he's
right,
like J.J. Watt, I feel like.
In the right defense, which he's going to a defense that has Leonard Floyd.
Doesn't need to be the guy.
Doesn't need to be the guy. Coming off the edge, he's going to see just a lot of, like, he's not going to get doubled as much.
He's going to see a lot of one-on-one.
A lot of one-on-one. And Von's going to take that all day.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what this does is this creates a problem for offensive lines when you're going against this team. If you already had to worry about Aaron Donald, now you got to worry about Von Miller.
Right.
And if you get past them, you got to get to the second level. And they're just every level they have all pros. So I think that's great for them. Obviously, I don't care about draft picks. They have, 3 picks in this upcoming draft?
Yeah, it's crazy.
They don't care. And for what it does for Denver, clearly this is a bat signal that they are rebuilding. I think that this team is going to go into the offseason. I thought that they were a player for Aaron Rodgers. I no longer do.
Really?
I think that this team is going to go full rebuild because if you're trading away a staple like that, this is your veteran. This is your locker room presence. This is your team presence. It's showing me something. It's showing me that you're restarting. Because let's be honest, Denver, we thought that they were good. They were pretenders for 3 weeks. They put on the biggest show.
Against real inferior competition.
Yeah, and we're like, whoa, Denver, man. Holy shit. And like, I had them in the playoffs, silly me, but I think this is a rebuild. And I mean, I don't know if you saw real quick about the Von Miller thing. Did you see the Halloween party thing? That was hilarious.
I did, yeah.
Supposedly that was the precursor for the trade, but I don't think it was. They were shopping him to begin with because, obviously he's one of the more valuable players on that team. So that's what I think it does for that. But when you look at the model that the Rams are taking, no, I don't think other teams are going to go this route. And I'll tell you why.
Really?
I think that it's really easy for the Rams to do it because they're in LA. I think that...
What do you mean by that?
So not a lot of teams have the capital. Not a lot of teams have the cash flow. Not a lot of teams have that like aura that LA brings to a team.
Okay.
So like a team like, for example, Detroit.
Okay. Okay.
You're not going to unload a ton of picks for a player like Von Miller because you know what? You can't fucking keep him. He's going to leave. When you look at LA, it's like LA, California, nice weather, new stadium, SoFi, Matt Stafford, Sean McVay. You have the pedigree. Not many teams in the league have that pedigree. Because you know what's funny? Tampa
could do that.
Before Tom.
Right, they couldn't do that.
They couldn't do that.
Now they can.
Now they have the pedigree, the Super Bowl, Bruce Arians,
so
Tom Brady.
So you're saying it's team dependent.
It's team dependent, of course. Look at, Joe, take your team, for example. You're not bringing in people right now. But let's say Trevor Lawrence turns into an all-pro.
That's what I'm saying.
Now we're talking. Okay. Florida, nice weather.
Right now,
sunny.
Right now, they need all the draft picks they could get.
Yes.
Because they need to build up the roster.
Exactly.
I get what you're saying.
With the Rams, it's like, who
they
cares?
already had a floor. Right, they already had a base of operations.
Of course.
I see what you're saying.
And they want to re-sign Von Miller. So you're making that trade and you're like, we're going to keep him. Just like Jalen Ramsey. You're going to tell me that, like I just said, let's say, who's another bad team? The Jets trade for Jalen Ramsey. He's gone. He's gone after 1 year. What's the point? And you wasted capital. The Rams know that it's not wasted capital. They know that they trade for that guy.
Right.
We're going to be first in line to re-sign him in the offseason.
And then who's better? What's better, having a first-round draft pick or having Von Miller for like 3 years?
Exactly. That's the point, you know?
I get your point. Interesting. I didn't think about it like that. That's good. Okay, a couple more guys. Then we're going to move on to our second segment, which the first segment's taking a while, but there's a lot, really so
much to cover.
Let's quickly talk about Saquon, who's also tested positive for COVID this week. But he, unlike Aaron Rodgers, is vaccinated, and he needs 2 negative tests within a 24-hour time span in order to play on Sunday. There was optimism that Saquon was going to play against the Raiders on Sunday. And there is some belief around the Giants facility that a couple of these positive tests were fugazi, if I'm taking an Italian term. So a lot of those Giant players are getting retested. And we'll see what happens there. But I just think, and this is really more of a note than anything else, I just think if I'm the Giants organization, I'm just telling Saquon, listen, take the next week. We have a bye next week.
Yeah.
Take the next 2 weeks, heal this thing up completely, and then come back in week 11 and we'll have you for the rest of the year. You know, as a fantasy owner of a guy like Saquon Barkley, of course I would want him to play on Sunday, but I also have the Devontae Booker insurance, so it really doesn't make a difference.
And how serviceable is he really going to be?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, they're playing the Raiders, who, listen, if there's one team the Raiders are, I wonder how much they're going to be mentally checked in on Sunday. I genuinely do.
I was thinking that too.
I genuinely wonder how much they're going to be mentally checked in Sunday. That team has endured so much crap over the past month. I just don't know. And they're still 5-2, right? They have a great record. They have a great chance to go 6-2 on Sunday against the Giants, but I have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah,
I genuinely
it's a
don't.
crapshoot.
And then the last thing I want to talk about is Michael Thomas, who we have not even mentioned once, I feel like, during the season. But he was supposed to be coming off the PUP list this week. But, John, what happened?
So it came out this morning. Adam Schefter reported that Michael Thomas has a new ankle issue in the same ankle that was surgically repaired, and he's going to need another procedure. And actually, you know what's funny is Michael Thomas broke the news himself in a statement that said he will be missing the rest of the season. So, Joe, the first thing you texted me when I sent that to you was he might have played his last snap for the Saints. It might be done. I mean, he wanted out to begin with, right? He wanted a trade. Then he gets hurt. Then it takes him. He got hurt in week 1 of last season. Let that sink in. He's going to miss 2 full seasons with an ankle issue as a wide receiver. At this point, he's damaged goods, I feel like. And if you're a team that's looking into him, that you want to make a play for Michael Thomas, I mean, I would definitely check those medicals, man, because what was once one of the best receivers in the league is now.
You don't think the teams could buy low on him right now?
They could, but obviously they have to wait until the offseason now. You know? They have to wait until the offseason. And it's sad, you know, but it is what it is. And that's why New Orleans was active in trying to shop a wide receiver at the deadline, and why they tried to get Odell Beckham, because they knew that this was an issue. So unfortunate that the rehab didn't go as well for Michael Thomas. You have something to add on Michael Thomas? There's one more guy that I did not tell you we should get to, and I just want to mention it really, really fast.
No, I mean, I just think it's interesting. I do agree with you. I think he's played his last game for the Saints. I think he's wanted. I genuinely think the Jaguars are major players for him in the offseason. I really do. He's played with Urban Meyer before. They need a 1A presence in that wide receiver room. I would love Trevor to throw him the ball. Jesus.
If he's healthy, yeah, it's incredible.
Unbelievable. But, you know, like you said, you got to check the medicals. You got to see where he is. Because in not being a deep threat and being a slant boy, you know, footwork is a lot.
Yeah.
And footwork is vitally important. So, it's weird, Johnny. You never know with these guys right now. You never know. Sometimes they say they're not healthy, but, you know, I mean, even the Deshaun Watson thing, right?
That's who I was going to get to next really fast.
The Deshaun Watson thing, he's about to get traded to Miami. So, of course, now he's shuffling to get his legal stuff in order so he could get dealt. And now, you know, when he realized it wasn't going to happen on time, he just said, all right, I guess I'll just go back to being, you know, lazy and not worrying about it.
You know what's funny about that?
It's crazy.
With Deshaun Watson, that whole thing was insane. That Miami had a deal in place, and Stephen Ross actually asked for permission to speak to Deshaun Watson, and he got it the night before the trade deadline, and they had a conversation. So what ended up happening was Deshaun Watson got wind that there was a deal in place. He went to go finalize the civil suits. Like, he went to go, like, you know, settle them. The Texans caught wind of it and raised the price on Deshaun Watson. That's what ended up happening. And then Miami was like, no way. What if, I just want to ask you this before we go to segment 2. What if Deshaun Watson turns around? He wasn't traded now at the deadline. What if he goes to Houston and says, you know what, guys? You know what, Casario? I want to play. What do they do? What do you do if Deshaun Watson wants to come and play?
He plays. That's easy. Plays. He holds the organization by the balls, John.
Of course he does. But you don't think they do a little, you know what, I think we're better off without you right now?
No, I think if they're smart, they let him play so they drive up his trade value. That's what I think. He's worth 3 firsts now. Oh, he comes back and throws 14 touchdown passes in 6 games. Okay, now he's worth 4 firsts. Because look at how good he still is. I'd let him play. I definitely let him
see
play.
what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But you know what? Deshaun, honestly, it's risky. It's risky for Deshaun, man. You're going to sit out
if he
this
gets hurt, then he's screwed.
But if, let's say he sits out this year, next year he gets dealt in the offseason, and then he gets suspended.
We'll see.
You know, it's just like it's so risky with this guy.
The one thing I do want to add, I just saw it on the bottom line of ESPN. Giants are in the middle of getting retested And so far, they've only had one positive return from the first go around, and that was the running back's coach who tested positive. So they're currently in the middle of retesting everyone who tested positive. So we have no idea if Saquon is actually positive or he's not.
What a mess.
So we'll find out later in the week. But they are retesting, and it seems like some of those tests were indeed fugazi. So last thing before we get to segment 2, John, do you want to just briefly discuss the trade deadline or the lack thereof?
There wasn't really much movement. I mean, we had Melvin Ingram going to the Chiefs for a 6th-round pick. The defensive end, Charles, I don't even know how to say his last name, got traded for a 6th-round pick to the 49ers.
A Magaboo or a Hedaboo or something like that?
Something weird. I don't want to butcher his name, but there was nothing notable. I mean, Philly tried aggressively, supposedly, to deal Fletcher Cox to no avail. Odell was not traded. Allen Robinson was not traded. That is another one that.
Do we have any idea why the NFL GMs are so scared to make deals?
Because they're stupid and they don't know how to run an organization. And it goes back to what I said before. Bad organizations are bad, and they don't know what to do with themselves. Because now Allen Robinson's going to walk for nothing, and he's been useless on this team all year.
I just don't understand.
Not even his fault.
I don't understand how Allen Robinson doesn't get dealt. I really don't.
He should have been dealt months ago.
I have no idea it's possible.
You mentioned them dealing him on the tag, like when they tagged him.
And they should have.
And he's just there, just not.
Again, he's
not part of the offense.
He's losing value.
Yeah.
He's losing value.
Well, he walks after this year unless they tag him again, which are you going to tag Allen Robinson
I
after
think
this
if
year?
they tag him again, he's not going to show up.
Of course not. Why would you? Marcus May was not dealt.
Yeah, Marcus May, though, expressed that he wanted to stay with the team and finish the year out with the Jets.
Wow.
He did. He said he doesn't want to give up on the teammates, which I can understand. That makes sense. Smart guy.
So it was a very, very, very quiet trade deadline. I mean,
Yeah,
but
I feel like the NFL usually is quiet for trade deadlines. It's not like the NBA deadline or the MLB deadline.
There was a lot of trades though leading up to yesterday, though. I mean, Mark Ingram, Von Miller. There was.
I think the Mark Ingram deal is going to be sneaky good for him.
Yeah, it's just they're going to run that same offense.
Yeah, I think it's going to be sneaky good for him. All right. Well, that will put an end to the longest first segment we've had so far on PSP.
It really was.
When we get back, we are going to run through the scores for week number 8, and John and I are each going to break down one fringe playoff team and what we think about their chances and why they are where they are. We've already given you a hint about who one team is. And then we'll get you on with another team. So we will be right back. Stick with us.
Hey y'all, Spencer Blinn, the producer for Perfect Spiral Podcast, and you're listening to my band Hollow Choir's new song, What You Want. Available now on Spotify. What you want.
All right, guys. Thanks for sticking with us. We're back here. Segment number 2, Perfect Spiral, episode number 37. My name is Joe Miglio, and I have my co-host John McCarthy here. If you're just joining us, please make sure you're subscribing, rating, and reviewing on any of the platforms that you listen to our podcast. If you missed the first segment, please make sure you go back and listen to it. We hit up every high-profile player and what the hell happened over the past 48 hours in the NFL. So make sure you get that. But for segment 2, what we're going to do is we're going to break down a couple of teams, and we're going to kind of talk about where they are, why they are where they are, and what we see for their immediate future. So before we do that, let's break down and let's go over a quick summary of all the NFL games that happened in Week 8 and the scores. So, John, just bear with me for a minute as we get through these. So let's go into it. I'm just going to go according to my Bleacher Report. So unfortunately the Jaguars are first on there because they're my team. The Seahawks absolutely dismantled the Jaguars on Sunday 31-7 in Lumen Field behind Geno Smith, who got his first win since 2016 as a starting quarterback. The Chiefs outlasted the New York Giants on Monday Night Football 20-17 behind a couple of Harrison Butker fourth quarter field goals. The Dallas Cowboys and Cooper Rush went into Minnesota and upset the Minnesota Vikings in what seemed like an impossible ask, but it actually happened. 20-16 as Cooper Rush threw a last fourth quarter touchdown to Amari Cooper for that one over there. John's gonna be the look of destitute.
You had to give the detail on that one.
I'm sorry. Yes, I had to. Saints were at home and defended their home field and defeating the Tom Brady-led Buccaneers 36-27 behind Trevor Siemian, who was playing because Jameis Winston tore his ACL in the beginning of that game. He will miss the remainder of the year. So it'll be Taysom Hill, who's coming back from injury this week, who will be leading the Saints for the rest of the season. The Denver Broncos got the job done at home over the Washington Football Team, 17-10. The New England Patriots went into LA and defeated the LA Chargers 27-24. That's 2 losses in a row for the LA Chargers, who are now 4-3. The New York Jets at home, after a week after getting embarrassed by the New England Patriots, come back and beat the Cincinnati Bengals at home against a Bengals team who just annihilated a Ravens team on the road, 41-17. And they did it behind AFC Player of the Week, Mike White, who threw for 405 yards and 3 touchdown passes. And the Jets scored 14 points in the fourth quarter to beat the Cincinnati Bengals.
Gutsy performance by Mike.
Huge. Bills took care of the Dolphins at home, 26-11. The Dolphins season continues to spiral out of control. San Francisco 49ers overcame an early game deficit and defeated the Chicago Bears in Chicago 33-23. The Steelers walked into Cleveland and avenged a postseason loss last year by beating the Browns 15-10 behind an inspired Steelers team. I think that had a lot to do with Mike Tomlin's comments earlier in the week. The Rams defeated the Texans 38-22. This game was 38-0 in the fourth quarter, so the Rams literally stopped playing. That's why the game was so close, but it was a lot bigger disparity than the scoreboard indicated. The Panthers got back to their winning ways after going into Atlanta and winning in Atlanta 19-13. The Eagles stomped the Detroit Lions 44-6. The Lions, a lot of people like the Lions this week. I don't think you're going to see a lot of people take the Lions for the rest of the season. That was a 38-point victory in Detroit. The Packers on Thursday Night Football defeated the Arizona Cardinals without Devontae Adams, without Alan Lazard, without Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and still Aaron Rodgers got a W in the desert. The Cardinals' first loss of the year. Both teams are 7-1. And last but not least, in overtime, the Tennessee Titans defeated the Indianapolis Colts 34-31, but, and we didn't discuss this on our segment 1, Derrick Henry with a Jones injury out for the rest of the season.
Unreal.
Huge implications for the Tennessee Titans' chances at a Super Bowl this year. Humongous. People were talking about them as the favorites in the AFC, and you can't think that's going to happen. They did sign Adrian Peterson, and he will be activated probably after this week, but my God, what a blow to the Tennessee Titans and their season. John, that is the scores for this Sunday. Interesting, I'm looking at this again, and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The road teams this week were 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it wasn't that big of a disparity. Road teams went 9-6 this week against home teams, so I thought that was interesting. But really quick, before we get into the two teams, what's your status on the Winston and Henry injuries? What do you think that means to both of the Saints and the Titans?
Well, the Saints
right now they're both 6-2.
Yeah, it's a huge loss. So the Saints, as far as that goes, I feel like they're really good at just kind of like plugging players in and kind of like, all right, well, here's Taysom Hill. I mean, we've seen the Taysom Hill experience. It's not like super exciting,
right?
But he does give you a chance to win. I'm surprised they didn't really bring anybody in. But I mean, hey, listen, if they're comfortable with that quarterback room, they're comfortable.
I mean, you have to think they are, because during the preseason they had this whole QB competition.
Yeah.
Between Hill and Winston, and it came down to like the last preseason game, and they finally gave it to Winston, which seemed to be the right move, But they must have faith in Taysom Hill.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, he signed that massive contract. Now he can now he could try to live up to it.
Exactly.
So, but the Derrick Henry stuff is just
devastating. But you know what? At the end of the day, man, that offense ran through him, but like when you say that you really mean it.
Do you think they really like just completely fall apart now? I got to see how they play against the Rams Sunday night. I have to.
I mean, it's interesting that of all the available running backs, you bring in Adrian Peterson. I feel like that says something because, like, listen, Adrian Peterson is 36 years old, but we're freak athlete.
It's you know why it's crazy to me? It's crazy to me because they're 6-2. They have a firm grasp on the AFC South, right? They're going to go to the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Even if you don't have Henry, you found this out Sunday. The trade deadline was Tuesday. You could have made a move.
I'm surprised they didn't get Marlon Mack.
So I'm going to ask you a stupid question. What was stopping them from calling the Minnesota Vikings saying, "Hey, what's the status of Alexander Mattison?" It might have been a steep price, but if you really think you had a chance at winning a Super Bowl this year, maybe you pay that price for a guy. Maybe you pay that price. The Vikings don't use Madison like the Cowboys use Tony Pollard.
Yeah, we don't. And we really should. We really should.
You don't.
That's a whole nother discussion, though.
But he's clearly a backup to Dalvin Cook. He's not like a 1B to his 1A. I'm not saying, but a guy like that, a guy who's a backup who could have made a difference on another football team. I'm just surprised they didn't go after anyone on the trade market instead of, as you mentioned, going for Adrian Peterson. Yeah. But I got to see how they play Sunday night against the Rams. I know no one's going to pick them to win, but if they could hold their own, Ryan Tannehill has so much on his shoulders.
They could be really frisky in that game.
I have said for years that Ryan Tannehill has been good because of Derrick Henry. Now it's Tannehill's opportunity to prove me wrong.
You know, I'll say it real quick, Joe. I'll say this after this will be the last thing we say about Henry.
Right.
Do you think now going forward they stagger him a little more?
I think
because his carries and his yardage was far exceeding anybody else.
It would be foolish for them to use him at the same rate they used him this year. It'd be foolish. Yeah. It would be foolish. At least bring in a comparable backup running back to give him some plays off. I mean, we see how effective Zeke Elliott is with Tony Pollard taking some snaps.
He's much better.
So he's
always fresh.
So why do we have to expose? I mean, listen, people are always going to say Derrick Henry got hurt because they overused him. Right? He had 100 more carries than any other running back this season.
And he had 400 more yards than anybody else.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy numbers.
But, we'll see. All right. 2 teams. We've already spoken about one a little bit, and we're going to start with them. And we're going to go to the team that I'm going to discuss. But I'm going to turn the mic back over to John, and we're going to talk about the Cleveland Browns. And we're going to talk about, we already spoke about Odell in our first segment and what the issue is with that. But, John, you want to talk about Cleveland and you want to talk about you called them the biggest disappointment before of the 2021 season. Mm-hmm. Why?
I think we were fooled a little bit. I told you yesterday, and I firmly believe this. I want to make this proclamation on the pod, and I'm sorry I have to do this. Friends, family, you know my stance on Baker Mayfield.
Enemies.
I'm breaking up Baker Mayfield on the pod right now. I've seen enough. I've heard enough. He's just not getting it done. Listen, the shoulder injury is not in his throwing shoulder, okay? Even last year, he was good. Year before that, didn't get it done. He was excellent his rookie year, right? He is just not an accurate quarterback. And this was his big thing coming out of college was, oh my God, he's so accurate. The arm, the understanding of the game. Listen, I'll give this guy all the credit in the world. He's got all the moxie you could get. He is electric when he's such a hype man. Great in commercials. But when it comes to playing on the field, there's something missing.
He's mediocre.
He might be below, if we're going tiers, right? So we're going to do Alex Smith is one tier. Then let's say Eli Manning's another tier.
Above Alex Smith. And then we say, I don't know. Who's another? There's Phil Rivers, there's Drew. We talk about those guys. I think he's just a notch below Alex Smith at this point. Because he just he turns the ball over. Horrible throws. Some of these throws are horrible. And when you look at that game last week against the Steelers, I think Case Keenum could have won that game. I think Baker is just so... It's all talk.
It's all talk. Great in front of the cameras, great in front of the microphone, great in the commercials. Like I said, it's all talk. Now, when you're looking at the situation with Cleveland and how they've been a losing franchise, terrible franchise, and the last 3 years they've had some success, now it's getting infectious. Now his attitude's infectious with the organization, the people in the league. Baker. Whoa. He's coming up on a contract. You give him that contract? First of all, your window's closed. I think your window's closed this year. You give him that contract, you bootstrap the organization with mediocre quarterback play. He has thrown 7 touchdowns all year. 7. He missed 1 game, but not like it was doing much. Who throws for 300 yards and 0 touchdowns? Is he allergic? Listen, he's got a great offensive line. He's got probably the best offensive line in football. He has an amazing receiving core, which we've discussed before. 2 really great running backs. What's not clicking? And the reason they're also disappointing to me is that defense needs to be better.
They've been on the field too much, John. They're on the field too much.
And that's a problem.
Of course it is.
Obviously, offense.
You know what I think about? I think about, and I hate using Jaguar references, but it's so. I remember, but we remember how good that Jaguars team was in 2017.
Very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
They were carried by their defense. And you know what? I'm going to compare Blake Bortles to Baker Mayfield here.
That's an excellent comparison.
That's what I'm going to do right now. Okay? Do we know how good Blake Bortles was in 2017? Game managed, didn't throw a ton of, and he had this wild 2015 where he threw like 4,800 yards, threw for 35 touchdowns. Bortles I'm talking about. 35 touchdowns. They weren't good, but he showed some promise, right? I feel like Baker did that in his rookie season too. He showed some promise. Then the second year he regressed a little bit. Bortles and Mayfield did the same. They both regressed a little bit in the second year.
Most interceptions in the league.
Right?
Yeah.
And then the third year, right? So Bortles' third year was 2017, where they went 10-6. They had a great defense, went to the AFC title game, the whole 9. And then the following year in 2018, the Jaguars handed Bortles an extension. What happened? The Jaguars, Bortles reverted back to his old ways inexplicably, and their defense was on the field way too much, and they stumbled to a 6-10 record that season. After going to the AFC title game, they went to a 6-10 record, and the dismantling of the defense began after that season. I think there's a lot of similarities between that 2017 Jaguars team and the 2020-2021 Cleveland Browns. Team is loaded with talent on both sides of the ball. And that 1 year, 2020 for the Browns, everything clicked. Everything. Run game, pass game, defense, everything clicked. And now the offense isn't getting the job done. And it's because mainly, and this is mainly because of the quarterback. I agree with you. I think that Mayfield is a prime reason why Odell is not performing. Personally, you mentioned the one thing I disagree with you before. You said, I'm not blaming Odell. I'm not blaming Baker. I'm blaming the Browns organization. I disagree with you on that point. I am blaming Baker. If he could make those throws, don't you think Stefanski would have a little bit more faith in him to make some of those throws?
Yes, and he hasn't made those throws.
Right. He hasn't made those throws.
He hasn't made those throws in 3 years.
And the same thing happened with Bortles. Bortles started to not make those throws, and now all of a sudden they became a run-pass offense. That didn't work. And then the defense was on the field for 40 minutes. By the end of the game, they're gassed.
Yep.
Same thing with the Brown defense. They're on the field 35, 40 minutes. They're gassed. They're absolutely gassed. Myles Garrett's running around like an Energizer bunny. And they still can't win ball games.
Yeah.
And you know what? I don't think Browns fans want to acknowledge that Baker's not the answer because they've had so much success the past couple of seasons.
Yeah, if you
they don't want, they want to overlook it.
Of course, because they don't want to go back to that
You're like, oh no, we need a quarterback again.
Yeah, like, oh, he fills the seats. Baker Mayfield. He's enigmatic. Like you see him and you're like, wow, I want to follow that guy. He's like that bro, you know? Doesn't he give off he gives off a very bro vibe, you know? Like very alpha male sort of stuff.
Right, I'm with you.
But like when you watch him on the field, it's like, 200 million.
No way. He's not worth that.
But they're, like you said, Joe, you told me they're bootstrapped. You're stuck.
If you give him that extension, you are pinning yourself for the next 5 years. You're pinning yourself. You can't. You got so many other good rookies. Denzel Ward, Grant Delpit. They just drafted Greg Newsome II. Joke. Owosu Koromoa is having a great season as a rookie. They're all on defense.
Got to re-sign Kareem Hunt.
Right. You got to pay those offensive linemen.
No wide receivers after this year.
If you pay Mayfield 5 years, let's say it's 5 for like $1.75, right? That's like $30 million a year.
With $100 million guaranteed.
That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. I don't know if he's definitely not worth it. I don't know.
This franchise is going to come to a crossroads after this year. They're going to have to look themselves in the mirror, and that's what's going to happen.
That's if they make the playoffs too. Right now, if the season say they're out of the playoffs, they're not in the playoff picture.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're going to have to look themselves in the mirror and go, is this working or is this not working? To me, it's not working. To you, it's not working.
I don't think
Something's
it's
not working.
Something is off.
Yeah.
Something is definitely off. Right? And it's so funny too because when we go all the way back to week 1 when they played Kansas City, right? That was like the highlight game of the week. And they lived up to that hype, even though they lost. They lost, what, 33-28?
It was close, yeah.
It was a close game. And the offense clicked. The defense did what they could against when the Chiefs were the Chiefs back in week 1. And it was like, okay, well, the Browns are still here. We got them this puck. We were like Browns Super Bowl contenders after the first week. They stuck with the Chiefs. And now they're like a microcosm of what they were 2 months ago. What happened?
You know what, man?
Over the course of 2 months.
Does this situation in Cleveland, and I just want to ask you this because I just thought of this and I'm like, I thought about this in real time and I was like, holy shit, this makes sense. Does this situation in Cleveland remind you a little bit of McVay and Goff with Stefanski and Baker? Like Baker is holding back this offense in such a way where...
Yeah, I mean, and he is though, honestly, John. Think about just replace Mayfield with Stafford. If Matt Stafford's on this offense, don't you think they're worlds better?
They're probably the same record as the Rams. They're probably 7.
With Landry and Beckham and Hunt and Chubb, their league's better.
Yeah,
league's better. I mean, you mentioned Aaron Rodgers having good conversations with Brian Gutekunst, but like, what if Rodgers says at the season I want out? I mean, wouldn't Cleveland be like a 1A destination for him? You replace Mayfield with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Christ. With that wide receiver core and that running back core and that defense? Hello.
And see, the thing about Rodgers, though, he could throw to anybody.
Yeah, but I mean, imagine him throwing to those guys. Guys who could, we've said for years about the Green Bay Packers offense is that, the reason that Devontae Adams is targeted 20 times a game is because he's the only one that could create separation within that wide receiver room. Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry, even Rashard Higgins can create separation. The Packers, the Browns even have a viable tight end option. They have Harrison Bryant, and they have David Njoku, and they have Austin Hooper. Not like they have scrubs at the tight end position.
No, they're loaded.
So when your weak point on offense is the quarterback, literally the quarterback, they might be the only team where you literally look at every single position on offense and you say, okay, we're better at this wide receiver. This wide receiver is better. This running back's better. Our whole offensive line is better than our quarterback, skill-wise, at each position, right? And your quarterback's literally the worst skill player on your offense. That's a problem. That's an issue. That is a issue. Your quarterback should never... And this defense isn't like 2000 Ravens defense, so they can't get away with Trent Dilfer being the quarterback. You can't do that. They're not that good. They're good. They're not that good.
Decent. Yep.
You know? So something's got to give. But I think you're right. They're not going to see that unless they miss the playoffs this year, which is a very real possibility. Very real possibility, because at this point, I don't think they're winning the AFC North.
No.
I think that's going to come down to Cincinnati and Baltimore. And I mean, when you look at wild card teams, there's 3 wild card teams, right? One of those 2 wild card teams is going to probably occupy a spot. Mm-hmm. You know, you have the Chargers, who are 4-3, who already beat Cleveland head to head.
You have New England.
You have New England, who's 4-3. I don't think they
4-4 now.
4-4. No, they
beat the Chargers. They were 3-4. Now they're 4-4.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Then you have the Chiefs, who are 4-4, and they beat the Browns head to head as well. So all the teams that they're competing with have beaten the Browns head to head. So the Browns have to have a better record than all these teams just to even get in the playoff picture. And then what? You're going to claim the 7th seed and you're going to get absolutely blitzed by the Bills or the Ravens in the first round of the playoffs? Then what? To me, that's regression.
It's still a hard look in the mirror.
It's regression.
How you slice it.
Last year, they were a play away from going to the AFC title game. A play away. And now we're talking about them missing the playoffs. Tough reality. Sucks to be good, because when you're good, you get criticized more often. Now they're starting to feel that a little bit.
Yep.
So, Cleveland Browns, I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Hit us up on Twitter. Let us know. John.
I just got some breaking news.
Oh, talk to me, baby.
Jordan Schultz.
Jordan Schultz.
Reported.
Oh, okay. I was like, who the hell's Jordan Schultz?
The Raiders and Saints are keeping an eye on Odell.
Oh.
Las Vegas and New Orleans are among the teams that could go after the star wide receiver if he's released.
Doesn't surprise me, especially the Saints, because they asked about him. Raiders now makes sense because they don't have a wide receiver.
Yep.
So I'm curious to see where. I would feel like Beckham would rather sign with Vegas because Carr is a much better quarterback than the Saints' options right now.
Oh yeah, he would be. He would be really good on that team.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting. I want to talk about the Vikings, John, and I hate to bring this up, but
it's fine.
It needs to be said. For you to lose a Sunday night football game at home against a Dak-less Cowboy team in a game they needed to win. John, they needed to win that game Sunday night. That was a must win. And they started off on the right foot. You know? Cowboys got the ball first, drove down the field, missed the field goal. Kirk drives the offense down the field, throws a touchdown pass to Adam Thielen. 7-0. Off the bat. Awesome. Great. Things are going excellent. Then everything just stopped. Just stopped. Defense was okay, but, listen. They held the Cooper Rush Cowboys to 13 points. And Rush wasn't bad. It has nothing to do with Rush. Rush was a viable backup for them. Clearly, Mike McCarthy picked the right guy to be the backup quarterback because he was decent. Wasn't bad. He didn't take a lot of shots, but he picked his spots. I'm not even really blaming the Vikings off defense here because they were just put in a compromising position. But if Cook was non-existent in this game. I don't know how that's possible. He didn't even get targeted once. He didn't have a catch.
Played 68% of the snaps.
In this game. He did not have a catch. Justin Jefferson was, irrelevant. He had 2 catches for 20 yards? He was only targeted twice. And the 2 times he got targeted, he caught the ball. I mean, Trayvon Diggs is good, but he's not a lockdown corner. If you look at the stats, he's given up the second most yards when targeted this season. He's a risk taker, Trayvon Diggs. He takes risks. Sometimes it pays off, sometimes he gets burned. But Kirk didn't take any of those chances with him on Sunday night. I look at this team and I said it before the season started. They are stuck in mediocrity. They are just like they're like that truck in the South that gets stuck in the mud and they cannot get out. And they need to call the tow truck to bail them out. This team is so stuck in mediocrity that it pains me. And I don't know what they need to do to get out of the mediocrity. They have a mediocre quarterback. They have a mediocre linebacking core. They have a below average secondary. They have a strong enough defensive line, but it's aging. Daniel Hunter's not getting any younger. Now he's out for the season with a torn pec. Everson Griffin's not getting any younger. You know, they drafted Christian Darrisaw, which seems to be like a win. The guy's been awesome since he's played, which we both predicted, but that's great. You know, Dalvin Cook is healthy, then he's not healthy. And when he's healthy, he's very good, but he can't stay in the field.
Never stays on the field.
I just don't know what this team is. And it's like they are the definition of a fringe playoff team. You know, and maybe they surprise you in 1 week in the playoffs like they did last year. They go into New Orleans and they beat the Saints. No one saw that happening, right? Then they go to San Francisco. What was it, San Francisco?
Yeah, they went to San Francisco.
No, not San Francisco. They went...
they beat the Saints and then they went to San Francisco.
San Francisco didn't make the playoffs last year.
Then it was the year before.
Yeah.
Because we didn't make the playoffs last year.
Oh, yeah, the year before. Right, I apologize. Mm-hmm. And they get waxed by San Francisco.
Blitzed.
Like they didn't belong to the same field as San Francisco. So it's like, where does this team stand? And all I saw on Sunday night after the loss was fire Mike Zimmer. I don't think this is just a coach's fix. I don't think it's just a coach fix. I really don't. I think it's, again, these mediocre teams, you know? Teams like, I'm trying to compare, like teams like the Miami Dolphins and teams like the Denver Broncos and teams like the New Orleans Saints, right? Even though they're 5-2. These teams are just, there's teams like the Chicago Bears. These teams are just stuck in mediocrity.
Like they're too good to be bad, but they're not bad enough to be horrible.
Right.
Yeah.
They're just there. They exist. And it's like these front offices, they constantly put Band-Aids over things. They're like, oh, well, we're going to just do this and we're going to hope for the best. We're just going to do this and hope for the best. You either have to embrace the Rams way of life and trade your draft picks for established stars and go all in, or you start over. And I have no idea where this team wants to go. You can't tell me, John, that you're a playoff team and then lose to a Dallas Cowboy team who, granted, is number one in our power rankings and is a front runner for the Super Bowl this year, I think. But they didn't have their all-pro quarterback. And we saw how bad they were without Dak last year. The Cowboys weren't world beaters last year without Dak. So what is this team? You're a fan of the team. Mm-hmm. What are they? What are the Minnesota Vikings?
So I have a couple of things to add to what you're saying.
Please.
So just while you were saying that, I pulled up their last, since 2015, their first round draft picks.
Okay.
Trey Waynes was 2015.
Okay.
No longer with the team. 2016 was Laquan Treadwell.
Oof.
No longer with the team. They had no pick in 2017. 2018, Mike Hughes. No longer with the team. 2019, Garrett Bradbury. Okay.
Was he good?
Decent. 2020, Justin Jefferson, obviously. Is fantastic. And Jeff Gladney. And then 2021, Christian Darrisaw, who obviously is electric.
Right.
You know what's the problem with this team? I'm going to tell you the problem. The problem started when they signed Kirk Cousins. Okay? Kirk Cousins was a quarterback who was mediocre. Washington put up huge numbers.
Against bad football teams.
Against bad football teams.
And then played average against good football teams.
Yeah, average to horrendous at times. Quietly has a top 10 passer rating all time because he pads his stats.
Right.
Doesn't take many risks, super conservative, but he'll give you a 300-400 yard passing game here and there. Mm-hmm. You bring in a quarterback like that to a team that's trying to win, and they brought him into a team that went to the NFC title game in Philly with
Case Keenum. I remember that game. Yeah, they got a great season.
Great season. We should have. I mean, coming to Minnesota Miracle, his team is hot. You bring in Kirk Cousins, now I feel like the dynamic of the team changes. You're bringing in mediocrity. You're bringing in mediocrity to a team that feels like they're better than that. Diggs leaves. Then the team starts to middle. Get to the playoffs, 1 win, loss. Miss the playoffs, get to the playoffs, 1 win, loss. Miss the playoffs. It's too infrequent. Now this guy, your quarterback, who's the highest paid player on your team, is making $35 million a year for mediocrity. Hey, numbers look good all the time. Doesn't turn the ball over. Mediocre. Doesn't take chances. Not a vocal leader. I don't care if he says you like that all the time. I don't care. Mike Zimmer, conservative coach.
Is he?
Conservative. Listen, I think the league's passed him by. He was a great defensive coordinator. Listen, we had one of the best defenses in the league for a 3 or 4 year stretch. It's not the same. He's not as good of a talent evaluator as he was 4, 5, 6 years ago. Rick Spielman. Talk about Band-Aid. You're right. It's a bunch of Band-Aids. It's like, Everson Griffin, let's bring him back. We need a vocal leader. Let's sign Patrick Peterson, who's washed. Anthony Barr, come on down.
After they let him go.
Washed. It's just, there's a lot of issues here with this team. And like you said, they're stuck in the mud. And you know what I think they need, Joe? I'm going to tell you what I think they need.
Please, because I think they need to full on rebuild.
I think they need to full on rebuild. And I actually commented on like a Vikings reporter's Twitter, and we were talking about it for a little while. This team needs a full rebuild. They need to gut. Ziggy Wolf needs to come down and gut this organization. Cut bait. Zimmer, thank you so much for a million great years here.
Right.
We need to move in a better direction. We need juice. This team needs juice. When it came out that they didn't try to trade up for Justin Fields in the draft, that killed me, because you know what that would have brought?
I know.
Juice. It would have brought energy to a team that has no energy.
I was just going to say, I watched that game Sunday night. They're just a boring football team.
They're boring. They've been doing the same thing for 4 years.
Sometimes there's nothing wrong with boring, but when boring doesn't get, like the Patriots were boring, but the Patriots were constantly in the Super Bowl for 7 years in a row.
Yeah.
So that, in that sense, boring is great. Mm-hmm. But when boring gets you 8-8, 7-9, 9-7, occasional 10-6, that doesn't cut it.
No. And you're in one of the toughest divisions in football.
Right. You're literally getting smacked around by the Packers every season.
And the Bears, listen, if they could turn that team around and they have Justin Fields, they could be a contender. They could be a contender down the road. I'm not saying next year. I'm not saying 2 years from now. 3, 4, 5 years down the road, they could be a contender.
It's just weird to me, man. They just, like you said, it's sad because like they clearly have some talent. They clearly have talent. But they are, to me, they are a team that just you're right. They just completely need to cut bait with the GM, the head coach, quarterback, the running back. Everyone needs to go. Everyone needs to go. And they just need to start over. And then, what's going to end up happening? You're going to leave Justin Jefferson on an island on a bad football team? Yeah, you're going to probably end up having to trade him too. But you know what? Okay.
Got to take the L if we have to. And listen, I don't want to see Justin Jefferson go. Listen, I don't want to see Dalvin Cook go. I like watching those guys.
But what's his team's ceiling with those guys currently?
It
is
a
first-round exit?
A first-round exit and wild card. That's it. Or you miss the playoffs.
That's not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it. You know, Minnesota's a proud football city.
Mm-hmm. New stadium. Went to 4 Super Bowls in the 70s. Unfortunately, lost all 4. But, ever since like that 99, that Dante Culpepper, Randy Moss team with Chris Carter, they've always just been on the cusp. And they've never gotten over the hump. And then they just Band-Aid it, like Brett Favre.
Right. And they went to the NFC title game with Brett Favre. And then he left. And it's like, okay, well, we're going to Band-Aid it again. They drafted Christian Ponder or whoever else the hell they did, whatever they did. The Tavares Jackson days. But just bringing up bad memories.
Triggering. Teddy Bridgewater was nice, though.
For a year until his leg got,
mangled.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just, I don't know. I just wanted to bring him up, talk about him, because I feel like, we don't talk about these type of situations enough, where teams just exist and what do they need to do. And that game Sunday night was alarming to me, because in a game that you needed to win, and a game that you really needed to solidify yourself as a playoff team, you said the word juice. I think it's a great word to use. They had nothing. Nothing. There was nothing there Sunday night. No emotion from the coach. No emotion from the quarterback. Nothing.
But hey, if he's playing the Detroit Lions, man, he's juiced up. Kirk Cousins.
Crazy.
Like, what the fuck is that? I don't even know what that is. Like, why is he like that? I just... If he's asking me if I like it, I don't like it. I don't like it.
You like that?
No. Did you ever see the TikToks where it's like, you like that? You like that? And that's no.
And let's be honest. They're 3-4, right? They're 3-4, I think.
Yeah.
I think all three of their wins have come by 3 points or less. Is that right?
Yeah, and they were in a couple of games that they lost at like the last minute.
So like they beat the Lions by 3, and they probably should have lost that game. They beat who else did they beat by 3? They beat somebody else by 3. I forget who they was. But my point is, they could easily be 1-6, 2-5. They just.
They're supposed to be like 6-2. It's like the weirdest team.
Right.
Ever.
They're stuck in mediocrity.
14th, 15th, 16th pick every year. Never high enough to get the top player, but just right to botch the pick. Yeah.
Anyway, that's going to do it for segment 2. We're going to come back and we're going to flash through segment 3. We're going to do our midseason awards, our game picks, and our sleepers and busts. So stick with us for segment number 3. All right, guys, we are back here for segment number 3 on Perfect Spiral, episode number 37. My name is Joe Miglio. I have my co-host with here, John McCarthy. If you've missed or if you fast-forwarded all the way to segment 3 just to hear the game picks, you missed a lot in segment 1, which was went through the league's players. Segment 2, we discussed the Browns and the Vikings in depth. And now in segment 3, we're going to go through. First, we usually do just our sleepers and busts, and we usually do our game picks. But before we do that today, we're going to do some midseason awards.
Juicy.
And I'm going to give a category, and me and John are going to go for it. Really quick, just maybe 10-second explanation as to why, and then we'll kind of, go from there. We'll see if they stick through the end of the season. So first one, we're going to do...
you want to see the best one for last?
What's the best one for last?
Save MVP for last.
Okay, fine. First one, Coach of the Year.
Ooh, Coach of the Year. I am going to go with Zach Taylor.
Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
Okay. Any reason why? Just because...
I just think they're surprising. I mean, let's see if it holds, but I think that if they make the playoffs and they win double-digit games going from winning like 3 games, I think that's a big deal. I think it's a big deal.
Okay.
Considering that he's had so many bad seasons.
Right. I hear you. Okay. I'm going to give you a boring name, but I think he's done a great job. I was going to say Brandon Staley, but they've lost 2 games in a row.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say Mike McCarthy.
Wow.
Cowboys are 6-1. No one expected them to be this good. Defense has been completely revamped. Last year's atrocity, that was a defense. Offense just picked up where it left off before Dak got hurt. They're using Tony Pollard more. I think they've made a lot of good decisions in that building. Yeah. So I think he's definitely, a front runner. Also, Cliff Kingsbury is another name. Yeah, but I think Kingsbury. No one expected the Cardinals to be 7-1. No one saw that coming. So that's that. But my pick would be McCarthy right now. All right, let's do Offensive Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year. What do you think?
So my Defensive Player of the Year is one that you just actually kind of dogged. I'm going to go Trayvon Diggs. I think the numbers are just impressive. What does he have, 7 interceptions? He might have double-digit interceptions to end the season. I don't remember the last time that's happened, but man, he is electric when he's on the field. He really is. It's hard, and he's on probably one of the best teams. So
yeah. What about offensive?
Offensive Player of the Year is tough, man, because you know what's funny? It would have been Derrick Henry for me.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It would have,
I
but
know.
Yeah. That's tough, man. You know what? I can't say Dak either because he missed a game. I'm gonna keep the theme where my Offensive Player of the Year is my MVP as well.
What do you say?
I'm gonna say Matthew Stafford.
Shit, that's what I was gonna say.
I think Matthew Stafford.
That's what I was. That's honestly, that's what I was gonna say. Matthew Stafford.
He is.
I'm gonna agree with you. It's got to be Matthew Stafford.
He was your preseason pick for MVP too.
He was. I know.
He's been as advertised in this offense. I mean, what's there to say? They're 7-1. I mean, they have to be the Super Bowl favorites, and he's just been unbelievable.
You know what? Just for the sake of being different, I'll go different. Offensive Player of the Year. Now, for the record, if I had to put a vote in, it would be Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
But What about Cooper Kupp?
Could be. Listen,
Cooper Kupp is like literally like he's got close to 1,000 yards receiving already.
He's been unbelievable, and we thought
And it's only like week 9.
I know.
He may literally go for 2,000 yards receiving.
How did we miss Cooper Kupp this year? And just like we were all in on Robert Woods, and it's just like
that's so because we thought Woods was more of a possession receiver, and he ended up literally. So we had the right idea where one of those Rams wide receivers was going to blow up. Mm-hmm. We just picked the wrong one.
I know. I think everybody.
We just picked the wrong one. But so that would be my offensive player of the year. My defensive player of the year is actually a team that we kind of got on before, but I think he himself individually is having an excellent season, and that's Myles Garrett.
He really is.
He's having an excellent season. He's got like 7.5, 8.5 sacks already.
3 drug tests.
He's having a great year. He had another great game again Sunday against the Steelers. So Myles Garrett would be my pick for defensive player of the year. Now,
Stafford's electric, man. I can't get over him in that offense.
Offensive rookie of the year and defensive rookie of the year.
Offensive rookie there is easy. It's Jamar Chase.
Easy, right? That doesn't require any thought.
He is fun to watch, man.
Who's your defensive? Mine's easy too.
Micah Parsons.
Definitely. Like those two are no debate. If you are saying anybody different, you're an idiot. And you're a loser. You don't deserve to watch football.
Now, Micah Parsons is awesome.
It's Jamar Chase and Micah Parsons. Not even close. As much as I would love it to be Trevor Lawrence, Jamar Chase has been off the hook. Excellent.
Unreal. The only person I feel like that's behind him, that's giving him a run for his money, is Mac Jones.
Yeah, I mean, I could kind of get with that, but the only thing with Mac is Mac's very limited, and I think the name of that game is their defense in the run game. They're very Browns. They're doing what the Browns want to do, I feel like. But
with better...
with less talent.
Yeah.
Okay. And then most surprising team and most disappointing team. I think I know what your most disappointing team is. Right?
Yeah, so my most disappointing team is obviously the Cleveland Browns.
Right.
My most surprising team... I want to say Cincinnati, but I'm not going to say Cincinnati because I feel like that's the easy choice. Cincinnati, I feel like, is obviously surprising.
Okay.
Burrow, Chase, that defense is good. Complete turnaround.
Right.
I'm going to go with the Arizona Cardinals.
Okay.
Because this was a team where it was like they started off hot a couple years ago, like the last 2 years, and then they falter. Kyler Murray gets hurt. I mean, Kyler's a little banged up now, but
right.
I feel like 7-1. And they almost beat Green Bay. This team is for real. You know, obviously they lost J.J. Watt for the season, but listen, I like watching the Cardinals. I think they're electric. I really do think they're electric. I think they do like a discount run game sort of deal with Edmonds and James Conner. Like James Conner's surprisingly decent on this team.
James Conner is getting a lot of goal line touches.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of goal line touches. So
he's got 9 touchdowns and Edmonds has 1.
Yeah. They're my most surprising team. Either them or Cincinnati. I can't not mention Cincinnati because it is surprising.
Okay.
Who's yours?
Which one do you want first?
Biggest disappointment.
Washington football team.
Yeah, they were up there too.
Easy. That defense has been a humongous disappointment. Yes, Ryan Fitzpatrick got hurt. And yes, they have Taylor Heineke, but they should still be better than 2-6.
Yeah.
They should still be better than 2-6. I don't think Denver's all that good, and they went into Denver last week and they lost 17-10. They're just not a good football team. They're not good. Antonio Gibson has taken a step back. Terry McLaurin's limited by the quarterback play. Logan Thomas has been hurt. And the defense has just been – Chase Young has been bottled up this season. William Jackson, who they signed in the offseason, hasn't been that great. It's just, bad job all around.
Yeah.
Really, really bad job all around. Most surprising team is a team that we dogged in the offseason, and I'm going to give them their credit. It's the Vegas Raiders.
Nice.
5-2, first place in the AFC West. They've gone through a litany of off the field issues. John Gruden just recently spoke about today. Henry Ruggs, but they've just kept on going. Rich Bisaccia gets 2 wins coming off of, getting his turn at bat. Derek Carr is having, we're gonna have an award later. We're gonna talk about MVP. I think Derek Carr's in that conversation. Mm-hmm. They're 5-2. They have a very good chance to go 6-2 this week against. Against the Giants. Then they have a huge game against the Chiefs. I'll tell you right now, the Raiders have an opportunity. They're gonna either sink or swim because they already lost to the Chargers once, and they have to play the Chargers again, and they still have to play the Chiefs twice. That's 3 games, right? They lose all those 3 games. That puts them at 5 losses. And that's not including the rest of the games they have on the schedule the rest of the season.
Yeah.
So they're really going to make at this point, they're my most surprising team.
I could agree with you.
And I still think there's a 50-50 chance they miss the playoffs in general, at all, as a whole.
Oh yeah, just because of like pessimism with them.
Right.
Like we've seen it before, you know.
So last but not least, MVP.
Matthew Stafford.
I'm going to go different. I am going to go with...
In your heart of hearts, you know it's Matthew Stafford, but who are you going to say?
Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
It's between him and Dak for me.
Burrow, no consideration?
I think there's 6 guys in consideration, all quarterbacks. It's Stafford, no particular order. Stafford, Dak, Burrow,
Carr,
Brady. No.
Lamar,
and there's another guy.
Kyler?
Did I say Kyler?
No.
Then Kyler, the other guy. Those were the 6.
Henry would have been up there, but injury. Damn.
Yeah, but those are 6 guys between right now, I think. If the Chargers are 5-2, you can throw Herbert in there too, but they're not. They're 4-3.
Yeah.
So those are the guys I think it's it. I think it's going to be. I think by the end of the year, I think I'll tell you this: if the Cowboys are like 14-3 by the end of the season, Dak will run away with the MVP.
Even with the missed game.
100%. I'm telling you, if the Cowboys get the number 1 overall seed in the NFC and go 14-3 or 15-2, he might unanimously win the MVP. That's how confident I am he's going to win the MVP if they're that good. Unanimous.
Interesting. Okay.
So those are our midseason awards. Let's go to fantasy. Sleepers and busts, where we were absolutely terrible last week. Going 1 for 6 overall. Easily our worst week as a group. This week, I have the sleepers, and John has the busts. So, John, we have fantasy sleepers and fantasy busts. Do you have a quarterback bust for this week?
So my quarterback bust for the week is going to be... Give me a second here.
Oh, talk to me, buddy. Talk to me, babe.
I'm going to go Justin Herbert against Philly.
As a bust?
As a bust. He's going against the 10th ranked passing attack in Philly.
Okay.
Philly's defense looked pretty good last week.
They're not awful.
They're not bad.
They do allow a league high 74% completion, though.
Yes. It's like a bend, don't break defense.
Yeah.
He had 2 terrible turnovers against New England, one of them being a pick 6 that sealed the game. So I got to see it. It's been a couple of shaky games for Herbert, so I'm going to give him the bust nod this week.
You're going to give him the bust nod. Okay. I'm going to regret this pick, but all eyes kind of tell me that I should pick this guy, which would be kind of nuts, but I'm going to do it.
As a sleeper?
As a sleeper.
Okay, who do you got?
I'm going to go with Mike White. I'm going to go with Mike White. I am. Thursday night, short week. He's riding the high momentum in Indy, coming off a tough loss. The Indianapolis Colts currently allow the 3rd highest completion percentage against quarterbacks. They have allowed 19 touchdowns, which is good for also, I believe, 2nd or 3rd in the league. They have given up inside the 10. They have given up like the 10th most yards to a quarterback this season. I think that White has a chance to not have a 400-yard game again, but I could easily see him throwing for 300 and a couple of scores.
That's like worst case scenario for the Jets because that's just going to create a whole can of worms.
I know, but I really do think... I don't know if the Jets are going to win, but I do think he's going to have another good game.
I kind of like him. I liked watching him. He had some nice throws this past weekend.
Talk about moxie.
Yeah, right?
Moxie.
Steps in and everybody's like, whoa, is this Drew Bledsoe, Tom Brady all over you? Like as if Zach Wilson had any stature within that organization. So my running back bust for the week is a guy that I've started 2 weeks in a row, but I am now benching him this week, I believe.
Damian Harris.
Ooh. Damian Harris has been on this crazy hot streak. I mean, the last couple weeks, he's got 5 total touchdowns. He's ran for 58 yards, 101, 106, and 80. He's averaged about, I want to say, 15 fantasy points a game. My math is probably terrible. They like to run the ball with him for like the first half, and then you don't see him again after he like gets his numbers. It's very strange. He's going against Carolina. Carolina's defense is good, man. That defense is still good. Whatever we want to say about Sam Darnold, that's fine. That defense is still good. I feel like New England's going to have a really hard time on Sunday against Carolina.
Really? They're going to lose?
I don't know if they're going to lose per se. I feel like it's going to really come down to Sam Darnold or PJ Walker and how they play against Belichick. Because
PJ Walker's playing? Sam's already ruled out?
No, Sam's practicing, but they're running them both in first-team reps right now.
Really?
Yeah, because they don't know about the concussion protocol. I don't know if he's been cleared yet.
Okay, interesting.
But, yeah, Damian Harris against that defense, that's going to be my bust of the week for running backs.
Okay, so far John has Justin Herbert as a bust, which I love because I'm going against my wife this week, and she's got Herbert as the quarterback.
I hope she beats you.
I hope she does not. That would be great. She's been talking a lot of shit all week, honestly. My running back sleeper is going to be Elijah Mitchell of the San Francisco 49ers.
I forgot about him.
Yes, you did. They are home this week against the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals, believe it or not, have given up the second highest yards per carry to opponent running backs of 4.88 this season. They have given up 961 yards to opponent running backs, which is good for 10th in the NFL. And they have given up a whopping, this kind of drives me crazy. They have given up 32 rushes of 10 or more yards to running backs this year, which is only second behind the Houston Texans. The one thing the Cardinals' run defense has done well this season is they have not given up a lot of touchdowns to running backs. They've only given up 4, which is good for third best in football. But there is no J.J. Watt anymore. So I don't know. And the Cardinals are coming off a loss. Niners coming off a win. I can see Elijah Mitchell having about 120 yards and maybe a score, a couple of catches. Good for like back end, maybe like RB2 stuff. So I'm thinking Elijah Mitchell has a nice game.
Interesting.
Okay.
Wide receiver bust. You ready?
I'm ready.
A.J. Brown.
Ooh.
Going A.J. Brown. They're playing against the Rams. This goes without saying he's going to see a ton of Jalen Ramsey. And I mean, with the fact that Derrick Henry isn't there, I feel like this creates a little bit of a problem across the board for this offense. So I'm gonna that's basically the summary. There's really nothing more to say. I am going to go with A.J. Brown as my bust.
A.J. Brown.
I kind of hope I hit on all of these.
Okay. I'm going to give you a wide receiver sleeper here. Okay. I'm not saying this team is going to win. However, I will say that this wide receiver will be a wide receiver 1 this week. You know who that is?
Who?
Brandon Cooks.
Oh, God, be still my heart. I thought you were going to say Brandon Ayuk.
No. I'm not that crazy. Brandon Cooks. The Houston Texans are coming off an embarrassing loss to the LA Rams. They are going to a 1-7 Miami Dolphin team on Sunday in Miami.
A terrible game.
The Dolphins have given up the most yards to wide receivers, 2,430 yards to wide receivers. They are giving up an average of 11.68 yards per catch. And Brandon Cooks is a deep threat if he is not. They have also given up 19 touchdowns, which is good. 17 touchdowns, which is good for tied for third in the NFL. And they have given up over 1,000 yards of yak this season. So I expect Brandon Cooks to have 2 touchdowns on Sunday against the Miami Dolphins. Good for wide receiver 1 status. So recap really quick. John, Bus, Justin Herbert, Damian Harris, A.J. Brown, sleepers, Mike White, Elijah Mitchell, Brandon Cooks. That's what we got this week. We're going to go 6 for 6 this week.
We have to.
We're going to go 6 for 6.
We got to switch it up.
All right. Before we get out of here, it is game picks.
The hottest. Oh, God. I'm so bad at this.
Best segment of the show, where it has been a tale of two halves so far this season. John started off extra hot. I started off ice cold. We have then since switched, and John has been ice cold lately, and I have been super hot. I cooled off a bit this week, going 2-3, but John, for the third week in a row, has gone 1-4. John's overall season record is now 19-21, and I am 22-18. I currently hold a 3-game lead over the Big Kahuna.
The Big Kahuna.
So, John, give me your 5 games of the week. And just so everybody's paying attention, you must pick one upset special, but are not subjected to more than one upset special.
So I'm giving you my upset special first.
Okay?
I'm ready.
Talk to me.
You know what? I'm going to ride your coattails a little bit.
Oh.
I'm going to ride the Mike White coattails.
Yeah!
I'm going Jets plus 10.5 tomorrow in Indy. I think they keep this game way closer than it should be. That was an energizing win. Who knows what's possible with the Jets now? Frisky team.
Michael Carter's been great, too.
Oh, beast.
Excellent.
You should have started him.
I really should have, but I still won without him anyway, so it's fine.
It's all right. I just like being right in that instance.
I know. It's fine.
I was like, have you thought about Michael Carter? Because you called me.
Completely didn't even give any thought whatsoever.
You're like, no. Okay.
Did not. No.
My second game of the week. Man, last week I was super prepared. This week I'm just like going on the fly.
Sometimes you're better off like that.
I'm going Chargers minus 1.5 as my second pick.
Were they playing?
Philly in Philly.
Ooh. Okay.
Philly's getting a 1.5. I think that the Chargers.
It's a 1.5 spread?
That don't make sense to me.
Whoa.
That's a little weird.
They're
right?
minus 1.5.
Yeah, minus 1.5.
Okay.
Real quick, I just want to point out that the Green Bay Chiefs line before this Aaron Rodgers shit was even, and now it's minus 7.5 for the Chiefs.
What?
Which I'm going to go Green Bay plus 7.5.
Oh, 7.5? Okay.
I mean, like, you look at that Chiefs defense, they're fucking terrible. So
I'm not going to lie, I'm staying so far away from that game, I don't even want to touch it.
I'm going Rams minus 7.5.
And it's Titans?
Yeah. I think that I feel like this Titans team can be frisky, but I think the Rams just kind of busted open. I feel like nobody's really been able to figure out
They're
the fact
7.5 point favorites.
Yeah.
Okay.
7.5 plus minus 7.5.
All right.
And then wait, was that? Oh, I got to give you my last game, right?
You have 4. Jets plus 10.5, Chargers minus 1.5, Green Bay plus 7.5, LA Rams minus 7.5.
I don't feel good about this, Joe, but I'm going to do it.
Okay.
Going Pittsburgh Steelers minus 6.5 again at home for Chicago.
Isn't that a Monday night game?
That is the Monday night game, I believe.
Minus 6.5. So, John, Jets plus 10.5, Chargers minus 1.5, Packers plus 7.5, Rams minus 7.5, Steelers minus 6.5. All right. Let's go to the leader in the clubhouse who holds currently a 3-game lead. And let's see what I have to offer. Okay. Give me FanDuel. Okay. Oh, boy. All right.
Ruh-roh.
Give me the Dallas Cowboys minus 9.5 at home over the Denver Broncos.
I like that game. I just didn't know if Dak was playing. That's why I stayed away from it.
I'm pretty sure he's already practicing.
Okay.
So he's going to play. Give me it's a huge line, but I want to pick it so bad. Fuck. All right. I really want to take the Bills minus 14.5 over Jacksonville, but I can't bring myself to do that.
How tempted are you to take the Jags plus 14.5?
No, not even remotely. Not this week. Without James Robinson, they might lose by 50. Give me the Bengals minus 2.5 at home over the Browns.
Wow.
I think the Bengals are going to completely refocus this week, especially at home against a reeling, Brown team that doesn't know where they are right now. Upset special of the week. Oh God, am I going to do this? You know what? I'm also going to bite the bullet with you. I'm going to take the Chargers minus 1.5. I think that's too easy.
Okay,
I think
I
that's
agree.
asking for it.
Joe is in dismay over this upset special.
I'm going to take the Giants plus 3.5 at home against the Raiders. Oh, plus 3. Sorry, it's plus 3.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
I was impressed with how they played last week. And they just lost.
Inspired football by the.
I think they're going to win this week against the Chargers going across the country. Rays going across the country. Who knows? Last game. This is tough. Oh, God. This is tough. You know, I'm going to do it. Give me the Niners +1 at home against the Cardinals.
Whoa. Okay. +1 is interesting.
So I'm basically taking them to win, essentially. Kyler's status is in doubt for this Sunday.
That sucks.
So with that being said, even if he does play, I don't think he's going to be at 100%. I think the Niner defense will be the best defense that the Cardinals have seen all season.
I agree with you.
And I think the Niners are kind of playing for their lives here. They're 3-4. They need to get back. They see an opening for a wild card spot. So I think they're going to be playing. They're getting George Kittle back this week.
Yep.
So I just mentioned Elijah Mitchell as my sleeper pick for the week in the running back game. So I think you may see a Niners victory. So, John, 5 picks again one more time. Jets +10.5. Chargers -1.5. Green Bay +7.5. LA Rams -7.5. Steelers -6.5. Joe, Cowboys -9.5. Bengals -2.5. Chargers -1.5. So we're double dipping on the Chargers. Giants +3 at home over the Raiders, and 49ers +1 at home over the Cardinals. John, this has been an action-packed episode, the longest we've done so far.
This is our longest episode yet, right?
I believe it is, but
Almost
there was a
2
lot of
hours.
stuff to go. Anything before we let this depart?
No, we covered it all.
That's it. All right. Well, for John McCarthy, my name is Joe Miglio. Guys, this has been fun. Make sure you hit the subscribe button on wherever you're watching the podcast. Download, follow, subscribe, rate, review. Perfect Spiral episode number 37. Complete and ready to go. Spencer, love you. Roll the outro tape.